Well, hello everybody. So this video is one of many videos I'm going to make today, but it will be the shortest one, and it's really just about vocabulary. There is no math in this video, and I haven't made any videos yet about just vocabulary and terminology and so on. But it turns out some of the formulas that we'll be learning in for this next test will depend on whether we're talking about a population or a sample. So in order to be clear on when to use those formulas and how to use those formulas, we'll have to know the difference between a population and a sample. Okay, so I'll tell you and then I'll show you. Okay, so first to tell you, a population is a collection of all responses, measurements, things that you're counting, whatever. The population is everything, and a sample is part of the population. And what we do in general is we take a sample from the population in order to learn something about it. Okay? So there's only one population, and we use a sample to get information about the population. So I don't, always think about like when we have political elections, because that's something everybody hears about, and most people take an interest in politics and vote. So I often talk about that in statistics class. But maybe we could go door to door and ask everybody, well, who are you going to vote for? And if, say, we go and we ask 100 people, that would be a sample. And what's that a sample from? Well, the population of all people who are going to vote in the election. Okay? So the population is everybody who's going to vote in the election, because that's what ultimately determines the result. And the sample might be 100 people that we ask. Okay? There are problems with using samples to get information about a population. Something we'll learn about a little bit later in the class might be, what if we're at school, okay? Say we're at our school and we ask, 50 students who they're going to vote for. That would be a sample, okay? Do you think that that sample represents the population? I really doubt that it would, because the way, at school, the people are typically younger. The way they think, it might be a little bit different. The way they see the world, the problems they have are different, maybe in general, than the population at large. So, it's there's a science to using samples to learn something about populations. Ideally, the sample needs to represent the population. It needs to be like the population. Let me give you an example. Okay, so I have this little container of candies, and I don't know, sometimes I have trouble with colors. I'm going to say this is green and pink, okay? I don't know what it looks like to you on your end, but it looks like green and pink to me. Okay, looks like you have some green and some pink. I don't know, are they equal amounts? It's hard to tell. Okay, looks like it might be roughly equal. But we'll say, well, this is a population. Now, if I wanted to figure out how many of what was in there, I might do something like this. And I say, well, that's a sample. Okay, all right, so here's the population. And then that would be the sample. Okay, now that's just true. This is the population, that's the sample. All right, the sample comes from the population. Now, what's the sample seem to tell me? It says, well, it looks like 100% of the candies are pink. Well, that's not true. I mean, look at it. This might be like the survey you take at school to see who's going to vote for which candidate, okay? It might not represent the population at large. All right, so I don't like that sample. So I'm going to take another one. Those samples should be random. They should represent the population. Okay, so here is another sample. And, well, I might say from this one is, well, if this sample represents the population. It looks like 2 out of 3, about 67% of the candies are pink. 1 out of 3, or about 33% of the candies are green. That's what it looks like. Okay. All right. Now I could keep taking samples and so on, but you get it. Like for this video, I just want you to know the difference between the two of them. Because, like I said, some of the formulas that we use would be appropriate for samples and some of them are appropriate for population. So you have to know with the data that's given, is it a population or a sample? I would say most of the time with what's coming up will be dealing with samples, but that's not 100%. That's most of the time. There may be some clues in the question. It might say this is a sample, all right? There will be some way to know in any question that we encounter whether it's a population or a sample.